Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And for our folks here in the Atlantic, we have had some changes today. We've got Invest 95L out here that is currently becoming better and better organized slowly as we go over time. But we also have a large area of rotation here. And let me get the crayon so we can highlight it. We've got a large area of rotation right in here. And that large area of rotation, we have one lobe here and one lobe there. This is almost indicative of a Central American gyre, though it is not. But if we look at the National Hurricane Center's 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time outlook, there we go. So currently, Invest 95L, that is incorrect, has a 70% chance of development over the next 48 hours and an 80% chance of development over the next 7 days. It is recommended that the folks here in the leewards pay very close attention to this particular system. Some of the guidance has gotten a little better for you today, but some of the hurricane-specific models are not necessarily agreeing with that early turn. And then we also have disturbance number 2. This is again, it is a large lobe. I'll show you here on Earth Null here in just a second. We may see something real quick headed towards the mainland of Mexico as the other lobe is down here. Earth Null shows this in a very good fashion, so we'll get to that here in just a moment. Taking a zoomed in look at the satellite view, you could see with this flare up of shower and thunderstorm activity. Again, this is not a threat to U.S., but later on in the forecast, I am going to show you of a tropical system from the eastern Pacific that does have some threats for the United States. And that is Priscilla. That would be this big blob of nastiness right. Let me clear that. Right there. Forecast has changed quite a bit for that one today. Impacts into the Baja Peninsula are expected. Watches and warnings will be issued. So as we can see here, we're at the 850 millibar level. There is Invest 95L, does not have a well-defined circulation, is still kind of an axis of a wave there. You can see it. It's certainly not circular, anything like what we see with Octave and Priscilla over here. So let's talk about this other spot. Our other spot is located right in here. And if you will notice here at the 850 millibar level, we have this area of vorticity down here. But as we go along, if you look here, we've got an increase in winds. And this is kind of what has the National Hurricane Center putting an X on it, and I'll show you why. So we're going to go forward here on Earth Null, which is representative of the GFS model. So we're going to come forward approximately 24 hours. Now, as you could see very clearly, we do not have a Central American gyre. All right, you need the winds to come from the Eastern Pacific and come back around into the Western Caribbean. We don't have that. So this is not a gyre, but it is acting similar to a gyre. If you will notice here, we've got a Isthmus of Tehuantepec wind gap event. We have our other area that is highlighted on the National Hurricane Center's Eastern Pacific outlook. This has a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days. But if you'll notice, we've got this increase in winds right here. We've got this large area and lobe of rotation with what looks to be another spot right here. Now, as I run this forward, it's going to be real quick. As you can see here, I went forward one more 8-hour block. And we've got an area of rotation right here, but then you've got the wind gap event here at the Isthmus of Tehuantepec. That is critical because watch what happens when that low pressure, as you can see, it becomes elongated. And it does not really do much at all. Now, that's the GFS's thinking. This is at the 850 millibar level. If I bring this down to the surface, you can see maybe just a little bit of a blip right there along the coastline and then inland. You will see these winds coming this way. Northerly wind with a frontal boundary up there. So, all in all, yes, this showed up on the National Hurricane Center today. Not really much of a threat. But folks here in the mainland part of Mexico, in and around the coastal regions of the Bay of Campeche, are highly recommended just to watch the progress of this because we don't necessarily need a named system to cause impacts. All right, now let's jump into Invest 95L. This is it. So we've got a wide variety of track, as you can see here. This is quite wide. These down here that are near the islands, unfortunately, are halves and H-Mon. H-Wharf is close, but not necessarily right on top of it. And some of the intensities get a little on the ridiculous side. So I've pulled up Brian Tang's website here this evening so we could get trends on some of the models. Now, as you can see here with the consensus model, this is the HCCA. Way out, big time turn to the right, well before the islands. This would be optimal. This would be great. It saves Bermuda and it also saves our friends down here in the islands as well. If we look at the intensity brings it up to category 2. Now, if we run the other consensus, again, trending to the right, this would be optimal. This would be great. It also brings it up to a category 2. But let's take a look at some of the other models. The GFS, as you could see, is in agreement primarily with the consensus. The Euro doesn't run on the Invest. The UK Met, although we didn't get the most recent run, I don't know why it's not there, but they're down a little further to the south. They did shift back to the right with this most recent run. The Canadian, well away from the islands. Now's when we get into a little bit of concerning because the H-Wharf is trending slightly to the right, but the H-Wharf also wants to bring this up to a moderate end category 4. H-Mon wants to drive this pretty much very close, if not direct impacts to the islands. And the H-Mon wants to bring this up to major hurricane status, potentially category 3. Halves A wants to drive this right through the islands as well, right through the leewards. Halves A, category 4. Halves B gets it way too close for comfort, has shifted back to the left, category 4. Now, not necessarily a category 4 when it makes, its closest approach. It'd be cat 2. That's still enough. But now, if we compare that with coamps is drifting to the right. This is a part that's kind of concerning because that also brings it up into potential major hurricane status within the next 72 hours. But the consensus does not agree. So, let's look into the ensembles. Let's break into the GFS and the Euro, and then we'll take a look at DeepMind as well. So here we have the Euro going out 7 days. The Euro has 50 ensemble members. There's not necessarily 50 lines down here. There are quite a few. It is anticipated to develop. But if you notice, the Euro turns this well before we get to the islands. That would be an optimal outcome. We also have the development of what looks to be a nor'easter type system that could gain subtropical characteristics, maybe. Doesn't seem likely, but could gain a couple tropical characteristics there. I'm not anticipating this to be a tropical system, but then again, it could grab a subtropical storm if it can separate from the frontal boundary. We also have a little bit of a signal down here. The Euro's been calling for that. Here we are getting into day 7, and there are quite a few little circles down there. So we'll have to continue to monitor that. If we push this out to day 10, we don't really see a lot of change. So that is at least a good thing. There are some circles, the circles that were already there are just kind of moving around. We don't see a lot of power here. And then you get one or two that slip out to the left that may have power, but you're literally talking about things that are under 5% probability there. So the Euro does have some inclement weather and maybe some disturbed weather associated with this frontal boundary and approaching nor'easter off the east coast. If we compare that with the GEFS, we get a very similar signal. Now here we are out 7 days. We've got our nor'easter potential. We've got the majority of the guidance, that the higher probability of the guidance wants to turn this 95L well to the north prior to reaching the islands. Then we also have what looks to be another little mess down here. And if I take this out to day 10, you could see there's not a lot for the GEFS, but there is a small signal that we maybe a little something. But again, the probability of that, and you always look at these in a probabilistic term, the probabilities on that are quite low. So we'll have to see. We've still got plenty of time, and we'll have to see exactly how things adjust. Now, if we take our physics-based models for the Euro and the GFS and we compare them to our AI models, big difference, huge change. As you can see here with the AI, the Euro AI, yes, potential nor'easter type system. Excuse me. 95L. Turning well before reaching the islands. Very, very 2% chance of getting it in there towards the islands. As you can see here, maybe a little something from that stalled out frontal boundary and maybe the tail end of that nor'easter, but there's nothing there. Nothing. And if I push this out to 10 days, you really can't tell much difference. So, the AI is not in agreement with this Western Caribbean stuff. This would be more or less a non-tropical entity developing along a frontal boundary. If we run this into DeepMind, now, this is where things get a little interesting because, as you can see, the probability of DeepMind's guidance wants to bring and turn this to the left or to the right prior to getting towards the islands. But some of these are a little bit uncomfortably close. And there's enough there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know, they're enough to where maybe some fringe effects. Obviously, if we get a track like this, it would be direct impacts. But there are some concerns here, no doubt about it. So maybe from about Dominica northward, getting up towards Puerto Rico, everybody in this particular zone right here are recommended to monitor the progress of 95L as we go forward. It's uncertain at this time. We do not have a solid center of circulation and a solidified pinpoint spot for the models to really lock in on, and they're still trying to predict when and where this may develop. So there's already uncertainty in the models before you even run it forward 6 hours even. And if we look over here with Priscilla, as you can see, there is quite a bit of turn there. It weakens it, but the remnant moisture is going to be left over. So let's run Deep Mine forward. As you can see, we've already got our tracks here from Deep Mine, so we don't need to pull up a box on that here tonight. And then if we run day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, let's get up here for our nor'easter. We'll zoom out 1 so we can get the whole basin. And as you can see, day 7, day 8, there's a couple signals down there in the Western Caribbean, but please keep in mind that each one of these dots represents 2% probability. 2. So right now you're looking at 8% in the Western Caribbean, 2% in the Gulf. All right, and as you can see here, there's not a very strong signal at all coming from Deep Mine. Not at all. And though, as you could see with our other area that we highlighted there on Earth Null, look at this little blob. This is that other area that we were talking about that is sitting in the Eastern Pacific. It's not overly aggressive on it, but look at its general track and motion. We could see a second round of tropical moisture being injected into the southwestern United States. And as we get into the Eastern Pacific forecast, I will show you this. I have the rainfall gauge right there, and there's some concern, especially when we're dealing with desert areas that do not contain soil moisture. So the soils are automatically and naturally hydrophobic because of the fact that it's a desert conditions. So flash flooding is going to be a concern, and I've got some big concerns for maybe even folks getting into southwestern Colorado. And I'll show you here shortly. So now we are going to, this is still on the Atlantic. We've got the Euro on the left, the GFS on the right. This is our 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity. This measures areas of spin in the atmosphere approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. As we'll note on both of the models, as you could see there in and around Central America and also Invest 95L, the Euro doesn't really want to consolidate it very much at all on the deterministic run. The GFS, gung-ho, ready to rock and roll. As we continue to roll this forward, you will note that here we go with the potential of this development of the nor'easter style system. Here we are at day 5. We've got that development right here. You've got the focus of the energy associated with the trough and, some of the old frontal boundaries. You've got 95L here. You've also got that developing low pressure here from the Euro right here. You've got the old frontal boundary sticking this way, but then when that low pressure center develops, now you're starting to get a tail that goes that way. And it is this tail where we could see what the Euro is picking up on to where we could get a low pressure spinning up off of that. And that is quite possible. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So as we run this forward, as we can see, there is that area of low pressure. If it is still attached to the frontal boundary, like we've got right here, and like we've got right here, this would not be a tropical cyclone. unless it sheds its frontal features. Though, as you could see, it is still a low pressure system. It's still going to be a storm. Rain without a name. Now, as we run this forward, you could see that the GFS and the Euro have some quite different solutions. The GFS and the Euro really get kind of capped off by the high pressure system here to the north. High right there. And there's a high right there. If I run this forward, you please keep an eye on that little high pressure system. I'll show it again as we get out here to the very end of the run. We are 10 days out at this point. A lot of uncertainty. We've got the high pressure ridge here. We had the erosion of the high pressure ridge that was right here. That is no longer existent. And this, though, look, this storm is headed this way. Even if I pull it back up on the Euro, look where that goes. Look where the GFS goes. That high pressure ridge is in the way, and it will not allow it to escape northward. So that little area off the east coast of the United States, we are going to have to monitor. The one thing that I can say about the GFS's overall solution at day 10, you've got a huge area of shower and thunderstorm activity. A little area of vorticity here, an area of vorticity here, and another one trying to develop there, all competing for, space and an area to be able to, in which to get to go. So, there have been some considerable changes over the last 24 hours in these long-range models, and that's why we discuss these every day, because we look for the trends in the models. We'll see shifts, and at that point, that's when we've really got to kind of look at things. So, and what we saw yesterday is not what we see today. Now what we have here are humidity models. We've got the 500 millibar on the top, which is representative of approximately 18,000 feet above sea level, and the 700 millibar level, which is approximately oh Lord have mercy, I'm tripping over my own brain. The 700 millibar level is approximately 10,000 feet above the ocean surface. We've got the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. So now, as we run this forward, we are looking for those brown features. That's our dry air. And if you notice, that first frontal boundary, while it does try to get down much deeper, we need this low pressure system to develop off of the east coast that would then grab a hold of some of this dry air and try to force it back. As you could see, the moisture rotating in and the low pressure being located right there. With the GFS, the low pressure is located here. Rotation on the eastern side, coming in with all that moisture. Rotation on the western side, driving that dry air from that frontal boundary further and further to the south. That's what we really want. And as you can see here, that helps to bring a lot of that dry air in, but that low doesn't clear. And it remains. And as you can see, by the time that we get out to 240 hours, yes, we've got a large area of dry air that is almost cleared the Caymans and almost cleared Belize. If we could get that to verify, it would be quite helpful. But if we look at it on the Euro, we've got an area trying to get itself organized here, and the dry air hasn't even made it to the Yucatan Peninsula. We have the other dry air that is coming across here, but we're leaving the Western Caribbean a little untouched. We're not getting that frontal boundary to really dive down in there. But if we look at it from the Euro's perspective out here 10 days, here's that trough. with a development trying, non-tropical, trying to get its act together right there. So it's things that we are constantly monitoring, and we will obviously, we've got plenty of time to monitor this and watch this, and we will report the findings again tomorrow and see if these trends hold. Because if this frontal boundary can get deep down into the Caribbean, it is going to significantly impact tropical cyclone development potentials in a very, very negative way. So now what we have here are our wind shear models. We've got, again, the Euro always on the left, the GFS always on the right. This is representative of the winds between 5,000 and 40,000 feet above sea level. As you can see right now, we do have some decently hostile conditions coming across the Caribbean, as both models are verifying. We've got a large jet streak right here. And then we also have a little bit of an upper level low right there. And then we have Invest 95L down here. All right, and then our other little spot right here. So now that we've got our bearings, let's run this forward. As we take this forward, you will note that we're going to get to about the 48-hour mark. We see a decent amount of, shear over the areas to where maybe Invest 95L is going to approach. The Euro and the GFS have completely different solutions, even by the time that we get out to 72 hours. Let's go there. And as we could see here, this is Invest 95L here. This would be Jerry at this point. We don't have a lot of shear here. But look at the Euro. The Euro has that increased westerly shear with still what looks to be an open style wave here, with a lot of the energy associated with it on the northeast side. Again, on the northeast side. So, if this can get itself organized, that is unknown at this time. It seems likely that it will, but it's also got some dry air and some shear to still overcome. And the Euro, the deterministic Euro, never wants to develop this. Not at all. The GFS does. The Euro doesn't. And though the Euro really wants to deepen this little low pressure off of the coast, the east coast of the United States out here, low 990s. And that would be, that would certainly be impactful. And if it were to sit in this spot associated with the Euro, well, some of those homes there on the Outer Banks from, we lost 9 with the combination from Umberto and Imelda causing high seas and rough surf. The problem is right now we're in October and the astronomical high tides of October. And with the full moon, thankfully we won't have a full moon at this point in time going out 7 days, but that onshore wind flow would be potentially damaging there to the folks on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Not to mention that if this, as you could see, the kind of the trough is like this, and then you've got the low pressure that runs back like this, and you've got the low here with the GFS, and again, that trough that runs back like this, that's where we would have to watch, down here. You could see the shear component associated with that trough. Same thing, same thinking with the GFS, but you would shift the area of development down here, off the coast of Nicaragua. Not necessarily off the coast of Honduras and Belize. So it's still quite a bit of uncertainty. And let's clear all this and we'll run this forward to day 10. As we get it, you could see a very, very sharp frontal system And then the euro, as we saw there on the seeds and the humidity models, this is an upper level low right here. The GFS has it way over here and still kind of trothy. Well, trothy going up that way, not necessarily down to the south. So, things that we're going to have to continue to watch. I personally don't like the lack of wind shear there. And then, as you could see here with the GFS, a lack of wind shear. But there is a ton of dry air there. Not so much dry air down there. Now, again, a lot of uncertainty. No certainties yet. We're just going over the data, and we will report any changes when we get back to tomorrow. The MJO, as you could see, the MJO is forecast. The ensembles are kind of all over the place, but as far as intensity is concerned, but expected to rotate through and get towards phase 2, then phase 3, working its way out of our particular side of the planet. But some amplification of this is possible, which could lead to a more conducive environment for thunderstorm and shower development. I didn't say tropical development, a conducive environment for shower and thunderstorm development. The Global Tropics Hazards Outlook, we get a new one tomorrow. So I'm going to show this tonight. We're not going to get too detailed into it. We've shown this for 6 nights in a row now. Tomorrow night, we get the new one. And all the $1 million question, when week 3 becomes week 2, do you carry this Central American gyre signal up into week 2? Do you carry it with you? And if so, do you carry it with those high percentages? I do expect to see at least the candy cane stripe, the 2040. I hope we don't see any solid colors. All right, now jumping out. Yes, Sean. Yes, we're headed that direction right now, sir. And yes, Tyson, yes, it was upgraded to an EF5 earlier today, the tornado in North Dakota, that I think it was June 20th when it made impact. They discovered the winds in excess of exceeding 210 miles an hour, picked up a train car and lofted it 775.5 feet. And some of those other grain cars were blown off the tracks that were completely filled with grain. I know a home was completely removed from its foundation, and it's the first time that we've had a EF5 since 2013. So the streak of monster tornadoes has been broken. All right, now, real quick, we're going to talk here about disturbance number 1. Disturbance number 1, if you notice where the X is, it's the same circulation that we showed here on Earth Null at the 850 millibar level. It's this one right here. All right, that is our 1070. 10% chance in the next 48 hours, 70% over the next 7 days. We also have Hurricane Priscilla. Hurricane Priscilla has watches issued with it and will end up with more watches and warnings. Octave on its way out to the history books. We'll go over the particulars, but first we're going to start with Priscilla. Now, if we take a look at this, I could probably refresh this. This is probably 40 minutes old, so I may get 1 or 2 more new frames. As you can see with the infrared satellite here associated with Priscilla, we do not have a tight inner core. We do not see the real cold cloud tops all the way around the center of the circulation. I will show you Typhoon Hailong out in the Western Pacific here shortly that will show you the difference between a storm that has an tight inner core and then what we have with Priscilla. If Priscilla does not get that tight inner core, slow strengthening is still forecast, but not rapid strengthening. And as you could see, as it continues to move off to the northwest, it is going to eventually run out of time. So it is still forecast to be strengthening over the next, 48, 72 hours or so. But that window is limited in time. Let's get into the public advisory. Currently, Hurricane Priscilla is located at 18.3 north, 108.0 west, about 200 miles southwest of that location in Mexico, and about 340 miles south-southeast of the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula. Maximum sustained winds of 85 miles an hour, moving north-northwest at 7 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure down to 972 millibars. Okay, all right, this is good deal. The government of Mexico has discontinued some of the tropical storm watches, but not all of the tropical storm watches. As you can see here, the Baja is also included in those watches now. Hazards affecting land, the most important part of any public advisory. This is the first thing. If you're ever threatened by a system and you come to the National Hurricane Center, that's the first section that you should be reading right here. All of this. Hazards affecting land. This highlights the impacts. Wind. Tropical storm conditions are expected within the watch area, hence why a tropical storm watch has been issued. Rainfall. This is where things get a little interesting. I can't pronounce all these places. For Mexico, 1 to 2 inches in some areas. I've got it in a graphical format. I'll show it to you here in a second. Across the mainland, from Tuesday into Wednesday, 1 to 2 inches with local storm amounts of 4 inches for portions of the Baja Peninsula. And then obviously that could bring the risk of flash flooding. Here's the big one. Moisture from Priscilla could bring heavy rainfall potential over the southwestern United States late this week into this weekend. Plus, there is the possibility of a second round from this area here, disturbance number 1, also training moisture into the southwestern United States. Taking a look at the spaghetti plots, as you could see, big time shift from what we had yesterday, huge. And now we are bringing, this up into parts of the southwestern United States. Now, I'm not saying that we are going to have tropical, force winds or hurricane force winds impacts. No. What we are going to have, though, is tropical moisture over elevated terrain and hydrophobic soils of desert regions. That's concerning. So much concerning that I've got the WPC and the NOAA blended models coming here into tabs. But first, we must, as a requirement, we have to go over the key messages. Tropical storm conditions are possible along the portions of the coast of west central Mexico through today, and the Baja California Sur Tuesday night into Wednesday. Within the watch areas, interest elsewhere in the Baja California Peninsula should monitor the progress of Priscilla. Number 2, heavy rainfall associated with Priscilla will impact portions of southern Baja California Sur, which could result in flash flooding, particularly in areas of higher terrain. And number 3, stay out of the water. Simple. You got a hurricane off the coast. Don't get in the water. And I skipped a tab because we didn't get to see our track. As you can see here, we have our watches. Some watches right there and more watches right there. With this forecast to remain a hurricane through Wednesday evening, turning into a tropical storm there on Thursday morning. And as you can see here, being a post-tropical cyclone, post-tropical, depression at that point, but it's on its way, and it's going to bring some moisture with it that could lead to the potential of flash flooding. Now, here from the Weather Prediction Center, this is the forecast, rainfall forecast international for parts of Mexico. I went ahead and pulled up the NOAA blend of models and the WPC so we can run this forward. Now, as you can see, over the next 48 hours, maybe a little bit of rain associated with something else there into parts of New Mexico. But watch what happens. Here it comes. We're at 72 hours, 96 hours, 120 hours, 144. This is day 6. Now, if you see, we're starting to see a little bit more moisture coming in. Well, there's day 7. This is where the Weather Prediction Center's forecast ends. There are 2 areas that I am concerned with. One being right here. That's elevated terrain. Another one being right here. That's also elevated terrain. Orographic lift will cause for extra shower and thunderstorm activity. But the one thing that the Weather Prediction Center cannot do is go out any further than 7 days. I'm going to run the NOAA blend of models out further. Now we're out 10 days. That's a problem. That is a problem. That could certainly lead to areas of flash flooding. No question, no doubts in my mind. I am getting quite concerned, especially when we get into this region right here and this region right here. These little spots and dots down here, polka dotted areas, are elevated. This could definitely lead to flash flooding. You're talking about 3.6 inches of rain for Phoenix? Really? 1.7 here at day 7. Let's erase this. Damn it. I meant to erase it. And I'll bring the NOAA blended models back. Now we're 1.7, 2.3, 0.9, 0.7, 1.8, 2.6, 2.2, 1.7. So there's some variance there, but then I add in those extra 3 days. Now we're getting into some serious concerns. Because you would have enough moisture to kind of set things in motion, and then in the second round, I've got concerns. I do. So if you've got, we don't have very many followers, members, or whatever that live in the desert Southwest because, well, you don't really get hit by tropical systems. You get remnant tropical moisture, and on a rare occasion, you may see a tropical system get up in there. We've seen that over the last couple of years, but it's uncommon. It's certainly not a consistent yearly thing. If you've got friends or family out here in the desert Southwest, we do. My in-laws live out there. So definitely going to be letting people know. We have a team member that lives with the Tropical Weather Threat Society that lives just west of Phoenix. And that is our, that team member is, if all hell breaks loose on the East Coast and we all go down, we've still got a contingency plan. That's the contingency of last resort for the Tropical Weather Threat Society. If Jessica ever needs to make posts, we're all in trouble. So, but please, folks, let your friends and family know if you know people out here, just to, don't scare them. Tell them to, monitor their local National Weather Service office. Tune into the weather. there for their local news. I'm sure that people will start talking about this because you don't see rain like this. This is tropical rain. And granted, it can happen, but it's not a, every year occurrence kind of thing. So, please, folks, stay safe. That's all I ask. If we look at the discussion now, I'm not going to read all this out to y'all tonight. It basically it comes down to the inner core and radius of maximum winds of Priscilla have not contracted yet, and the hurricane is not strengthened over the last 12 hours. If like could be preventing Priscilla from developing a tight inner core. Until that happens, only slow strengthening is anticipated. So that's what we're looking at. We're watching it in real time. If it tightens and it gets a real tight inner core and it closes off an eye wall, then these intensity values are going to potentially be a little different. But as you could see, 24 hours and expected to be 105, maybe 36, maintaining that intensity. But then when we get to 48, starting to weaken. Now remember, the end of the forecast period that we seen with the white, determination of the post-tropical remnant low, it's a 25-mile-an-hour storm. So you're not expecting wind, but you're definitely expecting rain out there into the southwest U.S. And for folks, if you use the database that is tied to our Facebook page, and we may have to put that link up on YouTube as well, you've got all of the countries here. And for our friends in Mexico, as you can see here, we just click on Mexico. It'll take a second, and then it will populate directly to the official source for Mexico. So please, folks, monitor, use your official sources, and we'll get weather radar from the Baja Peninsula here, probably starting tomorrow, maybe the next day. But I would imagine we'll be able to get something on that tomorrow. All right. Now, we are going to jump out to Octave. I am kind of anticipating not to be talking about Octave much longer. As you can see, really starting to lose a lot of that convective activity. Still bursting in and around north of the core, but that stable air mass and those cooler water temperatures are really starting to take its toll. Now, it really doesn't have, it's not above 20, but it's certainly feeling the effects and impacts of all these stable air clouds streaming in from the northeast, as you can see here. All of this is getting entwined and entangled, all that dry air into Octave. And Octave is not going to be around much longer. Jumping in on the particulars, we're at 16.1 north, 121.0 west. It is maximum sustained winds of 50 miles an hour, moving east at 7 miles an hour, with a minimum central pressure up at 998 millibars. No coastal watches or warnings in effect. No hazards affecting land. Looking at the forecast track, it's not going to last much longer. Maybe by Wednesday. Have a nice day. And as you can see here from the National Hurricane Center and the discussion, very short discussion, and it is anticipated to maybe still continue to be a tropical storm through 60 hours and then completely dissipated by 72. So it's going to get absolutely, it's going to get eaten by Priscilla. And it shows it right there. A continued eastward or east-southeastward motion is forecast for another day or two, followed by a faster motion to the northeast when Octave becomes influenced by the flow on Priscilla's southeast side. And that will just go goodbye. And there it is. While the storm's intensity could plateau during the middle portion of the week, there is good agreement among the models that Octave will open into a trough or become absorbed into the outer circulation of Priscilla in a few days. So there you go. It's done for. Looking at our ensembles for the Eastern Pacific, as you could see, just a whole mess out here, going out 7 days. We will have to watch that second round on the back end. Disturbance number 1, currently on the outlook, does not have an invest tag on it yet, but we will have to watch out for that one, because that could be a second round of tropical moisture being slung into the southwestern United States. If we compare the Euro Legacy with the GEFS, again, the GEFS, though, wants to favor a little bit more with that second one as for the southwestern United States. So I do have flooding concerns out here. Arizona, New Mexico, maybe even into portions of Utah, and especially southwestern Colorado there. I really have concerns for southwestern Colorado, big time. And if we compare that with the Euro AI is showing, again, Priscilla rotating and moving up into the southwestern U.S., and then you really can't tell the difference. The other one blends almost identically in with Priscilla. So expecting round 1 in about 5 days. Maybe round 2 in about 8 days. 9 days. It could be back to back. Could make next week's weather, this weekend's weather, and next week's weather quite different from what you're used to out there in the desert Southwest. All right, jumping real fast out to the Western Pacific, and then I'm going to look at the questions, because I do want to get Typhoon Hailong discussed here. Our Arabian Sea tropical cyclone, that's gone. Final warning was issued. It's toast. But Hailong is not toast. And then we also have Invest 95W. But Hailong, as you could see here, still forecast to have ridiculous intensities. 125 knots, that is the equivalent of a mid-grade category 4, 120 or 145 mile an hour hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. So, and as you can see here, forecast, it's already the typhoon, forecast to continue to strengthen as it is on this southwestern periphery of this ridge. If this forms an inner core, that number right there may be undervalued. And that's real. That 125 knots, that may be conservative. If we look at the most recent satellite, I am going to refresh this. This is from Cyclonic WX website. This is what I was talking about with Priscilla. This is almost connecting that inner core. Let's bring this to a stop on that last frame, and it's likely self-explanatory. You could see it rotating around, and as soon as this part here connects with this part here, those pressures in the center of that are going to go straight down. And they're going to start to plummet. They're going to drop like a rock. And knowing that this inner core is almost established, and for the folks that may like to find faces in those tropical cyclones themselves, as this core latches in, watch in about an hour. You may find one as this starts to rotate back around. You may find one. Serious. All right, I am now going to jump over to the questions. Yes, Sean. Next name after Priscilla, I don't know right off the top of my head. Let's see. Let's go to the National Hurricane Center. We will scroll down here. Um, we wrote it all down early in the season, but we just, I mean, we take them as they come. Uh, Not really. I don't really pay too much of attention to the names, because they're all tropical cyclones. In at the end of the day, names: Eastern North Pacific, and we are looking at 2025. The next one is Raymond on the list. Then Sonia, Tico, Velma, Wallace, Xenia, York, and Zelda. Let's see what we got for the Atlantic. Our next one obviously is Jerry, and then, oh Lord, we're going to have a tropical cyclone that may want to talk to the manager, with Karen. And yes, that's all stereotypical, but you know, like when we're dealing with tropical cyclones like this, no offenses, meant for anybody that would be named Karen. We try to find a little bit of humor in, covering things that could be potential disasters for people. Oh, you're very welcome, Miss Betty. Sammy. Oh, Miss Martha up there in Knoxville. Yes, ma'am. Know that place very, very well. I can tell you this: if you are in Knoxville and near the stadium over there, Neyland Stadium, right there on the strip, there is probably one of the best cookouts restaurants that exists in anywhere. So if you're there and you're still there and have the opportunity, if you're staying around there in the Knoxville area, highly recommended. The chicken sandwiches to die for. We're fixing to get our cookout here in Tallahassee. They've got the signs up. We're just waiting on it to open. I've wanted a chicken sandwich for probably about. I don't want to drive to Valdosta for it, but I'm definitely looking forward to a cookout opening here in Tallahassee. We're gonna get 3. But the first one opens up here really, 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 really soon. All right, everybody, that's about all that I have here tonight. We will be back live again tomorrow night, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, on Facebook and YouTube. We will have the latest on Priscilla. May get a little bit of something on our spot out there into the Bay of Campeche as it comes across the Yucatan. We'll see how it's all looking. I'm not really impressed with that. But then Invest 95L, we will see if we've got any name on that yet. And then we will also definitely be checking in on Priscilla and the potential rainfall out there into the southwestern United States. So with that, everybody, have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night. Good night.